Faust guest.
Study. I have forsaken field and meadow, now sunken deep in darkness, when to boding sacred all-night shadow wakes the better self in men. Now lie slumber savage urges, with every vehemence of deed. Now love of man from man resurges, the love of God is stirred and freed. Why are you running, poodle? Cease your riot. Why snuffle at the thresholds for outdoors? Go lie behind the stove in quiet. My finest cushion shall be yours. As you amuse us on the hillside ramble, running and jumping without rest, accept my care and hear, and never a gamble. Be welcome as a silent guest. When in our restricted cell the lamp resumes its kindly blaze, it lights the inner self as well, the heart aware of its own ways. When reason reasserts its forces, new hope begins to stir and flow. One yearns again to trace life's courses. Alas, life's springs one yearns to know. Stop growling, poodle! More suited to the sacred tones that gently clasp my soul entire is that animal rasp. We know that men have always hooted at what they could not grasp, and that the beautiful and good is often hissed as irksome to boor and varlet. For dogs, then, too? Is it fit to snarl at? But oh, though my resolve grows even stronger, I feel contentment welling from my soul no longer. Yet why must the flood so soon run dry, and we be left again to thirst, and thirst to lie? I have had proof of it in such full measure. Still, for this lack there's compensation. The supernatural we learn to treasure, we come to long for revelation, which nowhere burns so finely, so unflawed, as in the gospel of our Lord. I feel an urge to reach for the original, the sacred text, appealing to simple honesty of feeling, to render it in my dear German speech. In the beginning was the Word. Thus runs the text. Who helps me on? Already I'm perplexed. I cannot grant the Word such sovereign merit. I must translate it in a different way, if I'm indeed illumined by the Spirit. In the beginning was the sense. But stay. Reflect on this first sentence well and truly, lest the light pin be hurriedly unduly. Is sense, in fact, all action's spur and source? It should read, in the beginning was the force. Yet as I write it down, some warning sense lets me that it, too, will give offense. The Spirit speaks, and lo, the way is freed. I calmly write, in the beginning was the deed. Poodle, stop your barking! If you wish to go on sharing this room with me, not a growl or yap. Such a noisy, larksome chap near my person I find past bearing. One of us, I can tell, must quit this cell. It pains me to cancel the guest right, still. The door is open, run where you will. What is this, I say? Could this occur in the natural way? Is it real or some shadow fraud? How my poodle grows long and broad. See him hugely swell and rise. This is not canine shape or size. What have I brought into this house, an incubus? By now it's like a hippopotamus with fiery eyes and fearsome tooth. I'll make sure of you, forsooth. For such a half-hellish brood, Solomon's key is good.
No one follow keep clear, but like a trout off there, shrimp, some wily little telling. But may he upward, soar downward, flow, to and fro. Soon he'll be free. There's tricks to be going, way to be tender. No, we all your
First the brood I score with the spell of 4. Let salamander flare, undine coil, sylph thin to air, hobgoblin toil. Who knows not the lore of the elements 4? Each one's merits and dower has no power over spirits. Shrink in fiery flashing, salamander! Curb thy waters rushing, undinal. Glow with meteor sheen, sylph. Bring domestic help. Incubus, incubus! Be the last step forth for us. None of these 4 is the brute's core. He lounges there with a careless grin. As yet I've left no mark on him. I'll be at your shell with a stronger spell. Might you be, tell, a truant from hell? Then see this sign! Before whose power the black hosts cower. There, it swells up with bristling spine. Monster degraded, dare you see him, and the never-created, ineffable being, through all the heavens poured, heinously gored. In the stove nook's gloom swell to evil elephant sighs. If air crowds the room, into vapors would blur. To the ceiling do not rise. Down to your master's heel, cur! You see, mine are no idle threats. I sear you with sacred fire jets. Dare not buy the thrice glowing light. Pshaw! Dare not bide my stronger art within my sway. Why all the fuss? What's my lord's pleasure, pray? So this was at the Poodle score. A travelling scholar? Most amusing case. Allow me to salute you, learned sir. You really had me sweating for a space. What are you called? For one so down on the word, who, so remote from everything external, past all appearance seeks the inmost kernel. This question seems a bit absurd. With gentry such as you, their natures aptly gathered from their nomenclature, whence all too clearly it transpires, when you are labelled Lord of Flies, Corrupters, Liars. All right. Who are you, then? Part of that force which would do ever evil and does ever good. And that conundrum of a phrase implies the spirit which eternally denies, and justly so, for all that which is wrought deserves that it should come to naught. Hence it were best if nothing were engendered, which is why all things you have rendered by terms like sin, destruction, evil, in brief, are my true element in chief. You call yourself a part, yet whole you stand in view? I speak a modest truth for you, whereas your man, that microcosmic fool, regards himself an integer, as a rule. I am but part of the part that was the whole at first, part of the dark which bore itself the light, that supercilious light which lately durst dispute her ancient rake and realm to Mother Night. And yet, to no avail, for strive as it may, it cleaves in bondage to corporeal clay. It streams from bodies, bodies it lends sheen, a body can impede its thrust, and so it should not be too long, I trust, before with bodies it departs the scene. Now I perceive your worthy role. Unable to destroy on the scale of the whole, you now attempt it in the little way. It does not come to much, I am bound to say. What bids defiance to the knot, and clumsy lumber for the ought? Endeavour what I would against it, I have never discountenanced it. By waves or tempest, quake or firebrand, sedately rest at last both sea and land. As for the scum of beast and humanhood, there's just no curbing it. No quelling, I've buried them in droves past telling, and yet ever newly circulates fresh blood. And so it goes, it drives one to distraction, from air, from water, as from soil. 1,000 germinating seeds uncoil, in warm or cold, in moist or dry as bone. Had I not fire for my preserve of action, I should not have a place to call my own. And so against the ever sanely, benignly creative might, you clench your devil's fist inanely, upraising it in frigid spite. Come, seek another occupation, or chaos, fantastic son. It merits earnest contemplation. We shall talk more of this anon. For now, though, would you let me quit you? Can I forbid or permit you? Now that we have met, feel free to pay your further calls in any way. Here's the window, there's the door, the chimney, too, may be conceded. I might as well own up. I am impeded of egress by a minor flaw, that druid's claw at the threshold center. The pentagram can make you wince? Confide to me, Gehenna's prince. If that confines you, then how did you enter? How was a mind like yours betrayed? Look at it closely. It is not well made. One of the corners of it, as you see, that faces outward, is a little split. Then I have chance to thank for it. So you are now prisoner to me. That was a windfall, quite unearned. The poodle scampered in quite unconcerned. Now we are on a different tack. The devil can't get back. Why not go out through the window, then? Devils and ghosts obey a regimen. They must slip in and out by the same track. Entry is of our choice. For exit, we're enslaved. Is even hell with statues paved? I am intrigued. Then with you, gentlemen, a compact could, and safely too, be entered. That which is promised shall neatly be rendered, and nothing stinted or subtracted. But this cannot be hastily transacted. Psh, we might consider it when next we meet. But now I urge you and entreat that for the nuance I might be gone. A moment more let me insist upon. Perhaps you have glad tidings to present. Now let me go. I shall be back anon. Then you may question to your heart's content. I use no trap or stratagem. All on your own. You walked into my pen. Who holds old Nick had best hang on to him. He will not capture him so soon again. I am quite willing, if such be your pleasure, to stay in company with a man of parts, provided I may while away your leisure, in some rewarding fashion, by my arts. By all means do, you may feel free, but mind the art appealed to me. In this 1 hour, my friend, your senses will garner in more recompenses than in a year's monotony. But songs the delicate spirits will sing you, the pleasing pictures they will bring you, they are no idle magic game. Smell will be set to rapt enjoyment, the palate to superb employment, your touch, not least, be set aflame. No preparation needs our art, we are foregathered. Let us start.
Now see confining self be under reveal to the shine we be the service for under truly in babies cloud living sparkling the women double for sparkling sparkling to women dream my level the seven babies dreaming feelings of babies heavenly all streaming babies is a liberty so baby with baby dreams baby woman love when you loves the woman and the very woman slaughter breathing when the women smelling words, dreaming, still over the dreaming, I wherever we hear quality, we will come over. Seven, the better was before just seven,
Sleep. Well done, my airy cherubim. You found the proper lullaby for him. I am obliged to you for this recital. You are not yet the man to hold on to the devil. In welters of sweet fancy make him revel, plunge him into an ocean of deceit. Meanwhile, the spell cast at its threshold level demands rat's tooth to defeat. No need to conjure, one's near me. Close by he rustles and will forthwith hear me. The lord of rats and mice, of flies, frogs, bedbugs, lice, hither bids you dare, gnaw the threshold there, where the oil I rub. There you come scampering up, to work, fall to. The gap needs enlarging, you'll find it at the utmost margin. Another bite, and it is done. Now, Faust, until we meet again, dream on. Oh. Oh. Am I then once again deluded? Thus fades for me the spirit's rich array, that in a cheating dream the devil had intruded, and that a poodle slipped away.